We're here with Jesse, and Dave told us that we had to check out your ride. So you got a little famous doing a burnout with the trailer behind it.
You go about 50 miles an hour and just start doing a burnout. You can do one about as long as you want. I actually don't know how far it'll go. I just know we keep stopping after about a half a mile of it.
Right on. You gonna take me for a ride?
Yeah. There's all the belts you want if you want them.
Okay.
Probably not a bad idea.
Probably not a bad idea. We have really good health insurance in Canada. We're in the States, so.
Probably have none.
It's probably none. Power steering?
Oh no. It's pretty rough too.
But you're working on air conditioning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I might do the electric power steering at some point.
Yeah.
Now the one thing you won't want to do is get your hand in front of this.
Okay.
If the air takes it over, it breaks some fingers.
Okay. I won't touch your toy.
I really don't care. You just gotta be ready for the dumb shit. For the shift to happen, it has to shift and fall 1 RPM below that point. It just hold it in second.
Oh, okay.
Then like you'll hear a little rail pressure.
Yeah, yeah.
And honestly, on these tires, you can't really use it.
Yeah, yeah. Anything you want to do burnout wise, it's okay with it. Oh man, that's awesome. So what is this truck exactly?
It's a 75 Chevy truck. It's a 6.7 Cummins, a 48 RE, a 9-inch with a 10-inch gear in it that they said wouldn't fit, but if you grind enough, it will fit. This is a borrowed engine. A buddy said you can put my engine in it if I can drive it on race week, and I said sure.
Okay.
And my engine I'm building's over there, still waiting on parts that I paid for in 2019. At one time, it was only a back half truck, and then through one wreck, it no longer has a factory firewall or any frame rail at all anymore. The truck was 3 days out of paint. Like, I normally drive it anywhere we go, but the paint guy said you can't drive this. You're gonna have to trailer it to Arkansas. So I did. Got there at like 4 in the morning. At 7 in the morning, we unloaded it for the first time, my wife and kids seeing it. And then within, I don't know, 2 hours, it was totaled. I drove it down the road and an Arkansas State Trooper made a U-turn in front of me, no lights or anything, and I plowed him. So I reused the roof of the cab, the back of the cab, and the tailgate. Everything else is different.
Oh.
So.
How long have you had the truck? Is it like sentimental value?
Yes, 1992. My grandpa bought it new. I got my license in it. Drove it for everything I've ever done. And it got so rusty, we made a race car out of it because it, needed floors and cab mounts. And I was racing it anyway. I wasn't capable of like fixing it right at the time, like a restoration type. Right. It was above me, so. Yeah. This was easier.
It's not safe for the road anymore, so let's just do 200 mile an hour.
Yeah.
200 mile an hour, it's no problem.
And went 208 mile an hour. And I have those rotors and calipers here somewhere, but they didn't survive that. I thought it'd go 150, 60, and it went way faster than that. And through ambers, it used to have a fiberglass hood. The ambers off the brake rotor junked the hood. The hood's up there. It did push the windshield out of the rubber. It didn't bust it, but it come back in. It was close to breaking it. I don't know how many times I pumped the brakes, but they built gas because it boiled the brake fluid. And I was downshifting, and it was a lockup converter then. This is a 48 with a non-lock and a dump valve. I needed a shouldered bolt to get through all this stuff and the spindle, and the only one I could find was really long that had a long enough shoulder. So this was a on the trailer fix that day 3 years ago that I've never changed. And I say I'm going to one day, but it's going to require something coming apart for some reason.
Man, if it ain't broke.
Yeah, and they make bolts to do this, but not at Menards or Lowe's,
Like if you're a little sideways and you lift on a burnout, the trailer gets real whippy. Like the tires are rated for about 1,400 pounds a piece. Yeah. There's about 75 pounds of tongue weight, and it weighed 4,030 pounds. So the tires they're not good enough.
No.
Everybody that does these trans brake valve bodies, they do a constant pressure.
Yeah.
And I don't. I don't want them shifting hard when I'm driving it.
Yeah.
I have the weirdest setup ever. I've got an actuator that runs off boost to put line pressure in it. I'll go down the road with 50, 60 pounds of line pressure. It just makes the shifts real nice.
Yeah, comfortable. Nice.
The timer when you're racing will shift overdrive on time.
Okay.
But for me driving down the road, I just do it with a button.
Yeah.
But it never gets out of shape. I'm sure it can, and it may one day. But you can usually just do burnouts for mini speed, and it wants to go pretty straight.
Right on.
This guy wants to pass. I can't see a damn thing though.
No, that's a little sketchy. That's the gold power though.
So why did I build the truck? The truck got really rusty, and then I raced it and drove it. It was just the easier way to fix it, was do this. And it wasn't intended to be like it is, but through an accident and a couple other things, it just made it this way. The diesel, it's always been gas, alcohol, or E85. I love E85. Right before drag week, I kind of hurt the motor. We wanted to like turbo it or pro charge it, and a week before, couldn't make it happen. So it had a P-pump 24 valve in that truck, and it made 906 or 908 at the tire and like 1387. We took it out of that truck engine, transmission, and transfer case and shoved it in here for drag week the first time. It meant to be in here like 2 weeks. I thought it'd go 1150s. It went 1020s without trying. The diesels never left. It drives good, it gets good fuel mileage, it makes enough power to make me happy. I mean, it gets 23 or 4 miles a gallon to drive it, you know, pulling that little trailer, which is heavy, not very big. It just made a good drag and drive truck. It's not like you could ever be fast. Like 8th mile, 561's fastest I've been. Quarter mile, I've only been 594, and that went a 950. I've never tried to get everything out of it at one of those events because it's got to get me home.
What led to the 6.7?
I had a friend at drag week. They scattered a rear end in front of us, and I was in the burnout box, and I'd shut it off. We got out, and then all of a sudden the track's clean, and I needed to get in it. Well, the only boost control I had was just CO2 on dome pressure. And I was belted in and I couldn't reach the CO2 bottle. So I waved at a guy that I didn't really know and said, turn that on. Well, he turned it on, but he also turned the regulator up, and it made 138 pounds of boost. It shifted twice and locked the converter and drug it down to like 1700 RPM with 130 pounds of boost. And the block split at the freeze plugs in the cam line. So the mechanical motor was hurt. And just a little.
It was hurt.
It wasn't. I made the whole pass. But it emptied all the coolant, and I made it down and back, and just I could smell coolant, and I was like, well, you know, I lifted a head or something. And I brought it home, and we put a head gasket on it. And when I got it off, I'm looking at it, and there was no cut spot in the gasket. I'm like, that's weird. And my buddy, he works at Cummins, he's like, put a common rail in it, you'll love it. Which led to putting this engine in it, which is his, which is a stock 6.7. It's got head studs in it. Beyond that, it's stock.
Really?
Well, some S&S 300% and a 14 millimeter
Yep.
CP3, and then those turbos, which aren't big. This drives like a new vehicle.
Yeah.
And I'm going to keep the common rail on the motor I'm building.
Okay. And what are you doing with that one?
It's a 6.7, but I use Carrillo's hybrid kit where you lose 2 pounds off one rod and piston. I don't know if you've ever seen those.
Yeah.
Long rodded. I'm not doing a deck plate, but because it's going to be a wet block. I cut the shelf off the intake and ported the head and 3 millimeter larger valves. And I want to make something that'll make 2,000, 2,200, and then make 1,500 and hopefully not break it.
Yeah.
But if I can run somewhere near 850s with air conditioning and cruise control and pull a trailer, what's not cool about that?
That's awesome.
The paint scheme's back to what it should have been, besides it's airbrushed. But it's what it should have looked like. It's all steel. It still weighs 4188, no driver, and 1 battery, and it has 2 in it. I don't know what it really weighs, but it gets pretty close to probably 4450 with driver and 2 batteries, maybe a little heavier. So it's not light. Haven't even thrown it in 4th gear.
No.
So we've probably only made 160 or 70 mile an hour wheel speed.
Yeah.
But at some point a Cooper Discovery mud terrain is going to fly apart. I don't know when that is.
I thought they were pretty lucky. Yeah.
I throw it in 4th when necessary, but when you're running out of road, there's really no point.
No, that's right.
You can sit there and do all that, transmission at 103 and engine at 180.
It's crazy. The Cummins just runs so comfortable.
And it's got a 180-degree thermostat, or it would be less than that.
Crazy. Was it rev the 6.7 too?
That was probably, it wasn't over 4,000. The guy that owns the engine wants me to rev it. I think it would be faster shifting it like 2,800.
Okay.
It seems to make a lot of torque.
Yeah.
But it's not good for rods. He wants me to rev it like 4,000 just to take the cylinder pressure off the rods.
Yeah.
So I do. It's where it's set to shift. Kind of funny how I let off and stopped at the same time.
Yeah. That was awesome, man. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. It's like a carnival ride.
Yeah.
You can believe how many times a week I actually, 2 or 3 times a week you take somebody for a ride.
All right. So that was a long drive to Mexico.
Yeah.
I appreciate you taking me.
No problem. Anytime.
Thank you for showing
Thank
me
you.
the track. So you're gonna do drag week again? It's like,
Drag week again, and then it's rumored Tom Bailey's going to do a drag and drive style race this February
oh,
somewhere south towards Florida. If they do it, I'm going to try to do it.
nice. Got to get these in before all of this gets
But
illegal.
any of the, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Any of the drag and drive style things I want to do. I have never done Rocky Mountain 1.0. I've done the 2.0.
Okay.
What better to drive through the mountains?
Yeah.
It's not going to hurt anything.
No, that's
It might
right.
like it better than going flat roads. So I want to try that one. But yeah, I'm going to do as much as I can as long as I can do it.
Nice. All right, guys, if you guys have a build that you're proud of, whether it's your first truck or something you just picked up, whether you completely rebuilt it or just did an engine swap or whatever, hit us up on our webpage and submit it. Then we know where you are. And if we're in the area, you might get an email or phone call, and we'll look you up and see if we can get it on the channel. Because we love this stuff. We love the pride in the vehicles, and it shows when you drive it and when you're showing it off. We absolutely love it. So remember, if you're not filthy, you're not rich. So get out there and wrench on it, and then so we can drive it. Driving's pretty cool. Here we go.